I'm sitting at my laptop, angry at what's playing. It's just audio, but it's enough for me to understand what's going on. I remember a conversation from 3 months ago. Was I not clear enough? Didn't I mention the consequences? Well, that means it's a divorce. Our closest neighbors, Jin and Pete, invited us to a barbecue at their house. We didn't have to go because they lived only 4 houses away from us. We had been in contact with them for many years, and both couples Jean and Pete, and Jane and I, Jim, were families whose children had grown up and moved away, and we had known each other for over 2 decades, took family holidays together, and were best friends. The link between us was Jean and Jane's relationship, which began in school and continued at university, where they were roommates. Jane had hinted that they sometimes played with each other when they were younger, but despite my attempts to find out details, she never shared them, leaving me guessing whether they were attracted to each other or shared time with one or more guys. Jean and Pete installed a pool in their garden a few years ago, so they usually had guests over, although we had a 6-seater jacuzzi which we used in the cooler months when their pool was too cold. So, of course, we'd all seen each other almost completely naked over the years, and in recent years, thanks to the pool and hot tub, we all knew that all 4 of us were keeping fit. We ate grilled steaks with sides and drank several bottles of red wine, wore swimsuits, and were all relaxed and comfortable, slightly intoxicated. It was Jean who brought up the topic. Is it just me, or is anyone else surprised that we've kept our hands to ourselves all these years? I mean, we've been through a lot together as families and friends, and, well, I know I've felt the attraction sometimes. And she left it hanging in the air. I could see Pete's brain working on overdrive. It was no secret that he often cast admiring glances at Jane when we were lounging in our swimsuits. I knew from conversations over beers that we both thought the other's wife was hot. Jane chimed in, "Well, it's not entirely true that we kept our hands to ourselves. You and I had our moments before we got married, Jean. Have you ever told Pete?" "Yeah, without going into too much detail, but yeah, I told him that you and I messed around a little when we were younger." "Have you told Jim?" "Well, not in detail, but she hinted." "Damn, Jim, we could sell tickets for the rematch and make a ton of money. I would definitely pay to see this," Pete said enthusiastically. I just smiled but didn't say anything. Jane couldn't help herself. "What do you think, Jean? Looks like guys would love to see us. I know I'd like to rekindle old feelings, just for a laugh, you know. I don't want to run away from home with you. I love men too much to be content with just a woman." She laughed. I remained silent, but wondered where this was all suddenly going. I stood up and announced that I was going for a swim. I wasn't comfortable with where this was going. I swam a few lengths of the 10-meter pool when the others joined me 5-10 minutes later, and of course I didn't know what else was said in my absence. I soon started to get the idea when both girls took off their swimsuit tops and started splashing around, and then to my complete surprise they started kissing, not more than 5 meters away from me. I continued swimming until Pete came over to talk to me. "You seem angry, Jim. Don't you like what's going on?" "Pete, I feel like I'm being manipulated tonight. This all came out of nowhere. Tell me I'm wrong, but you're going to tell me that the girls want us to consider switching partners, right?" "Jim, I told them 2 things. First, that you would figure out their plan tonight, and second, that you would never go through with it. You're right, I should have sold you on this idea, just a little fun between friends. We're so close, no one else will be involved, just between us, no one needs to know, blah, blah, blah. So yes, you're right, it's my job to bring this to you. They both want it, I would be happy too, but I knew all along that it wasn't for you. Am I right?" "Not just right, Pete, 100% right. This is completely unacceptable to me, and I will have a serious talk with Jane when we get home about whether she wants to stay married." Pete nodded, understanding. I assumed this would be the end of it. There was no need to ruin such a long friendship. "Okay, that's all," Pete said, looked at the girls, and shook his head. They dispersed pretty quickly, and we all left the pool. After one last coffee to warm up, Jane and I walked home in silence. When we got home, I asked, "Okay, how long have you 3 been planning this? And before you answer, I talked to Pete while you and Jean were kissing, so I want the truth. Jane frowned. Okay, you got us. Jean and I were talking a few weeks ago, both fondly remembering our encounters before we all met and got married. Anyway, we agreed that both couples, at least we're women, were feeling like things were getting a little boring in the bedroom, so we came up with the idea that a little sharing between just the four of us could liven things up for all of us. What do you think? I think you're all crazy, Jane. I didn't like your trick with Jean. That in itself can lead to divorce pretty quickly. Come on, Jim. Are you kidding me? Are you going to divorce me because of kissing Jean? Seriously, am I not worth more to you than that? Jane, not for this. But if you step outside the boundaries of our marriage, we will end. Do you understand that? I get it, damn it, Jim. It was just supposed to be a little fun between friends, no harm done. But if you're not interested in Jean, then fine, we'll stop this. But I've seen you stare at her breasts for years and ass when she leaned over. I saw how you looked like you wanted her. Well, this was a chance to do just that. But no, you say you're not interested, but I don't believe you. Okay, Jim, just hypothetically, if I said, hey, Jim, it's your birthday. Would you like to sleep with my best friend Jean as a gift? Would you tell me you'd say no? Jane, I don't have to think about it. When we got married, we made promises to each other. You know I'm not a religious person, but I keep my promises. Will you keep yours? Of course I will, Jim. Let's just forget about it. And that seemed to be the end. No more mention of anything sexual between the friends, although things became very frosty between Jim and Jane. Neither of them made the first move toward the other sexually, and 3 weeks later began the longest period without sex that either could remember. Ironically, it was the supermarket grocery bill that pissed me off after 3 weeks of no sex. Large pack of batteries. Heck, almost nothing we have uses batteries. The only thing I could think of is remote controls for various devices, TVS and such, that last a year or two on one set of batteries. Neither of us mentioned it. It felt like we were stuck in a long campaign that I had no intention of losing under any circumstances. If Jane is ready to kill our marriage, I will be sorry, but some things are not negotiable. For me, it is loyalty. Meanwhile, our usual meetings with Pete and Jean began to occur less frequently. If we used to meet once or twice a week, now only once, and it was not the most joyful meeting. Relations were clearly strained. I was then informed that Jane was going to their house on Friday evening and asked if I would go with her. Of course, I said why not. Oh, no reason, Jim. It's just that things have been very stressful for us the last 6 weeks. I wasn't sure you'd go. You barely spoke the last time we were there 3 weeks ago. I'm glad you want to go because they're our best friends. Yes, Jane, I was quiet. I was a little uncomfortable after you made it clear that you would rather have sex with them than with me. What the hell makes you think I'd rather have sex with them? I love you, idiot, but you made me feel really uncomfortable just because everyone else thought we could use a little variety. And you haven't made a single move towards making love to me since then. If you don't want me, I'm not going to stay chaste forever. You really scare me with your childish behavior, Jim. I've never given you a reason to doubt me, but you make me feel like some kind of prostitute. I left, not wanting to be encouraged to accept the crap she was selling. There was no doubt in my mind that she was still trying to soften me up and bring me to what the other three wanted. What I didn't know was whether she was acting alone or with one or both of our best friends. That Friday we went to Pete and Jean's, still without discussing our problems, let alone solving them. Again, my mood was depressed. I hardly spoke, and soon Pete said, "Jim, come with me to the pool. I want to talk to you alone." I saw the girls look at each other, but I didn't know if they were conveying a silent message, or, like me, just wondering what was going on. I wasn't at all sure if my oldest and best friend was going to sell me the same crap or what to expect. Fortunately, everything cleared up quickly. "Jim, what the hell is going on? We hardly see each other. I miss my best friend. These two are constantly texting and whispering behind their backs. Jane is here more often than ever, but almost always without you. To be honest, I'm starting to get annoyed with how things are going." I was at a meeting at the golf club one evening. When I came back, they seemed to be caught off guard by me, and I could have sworn they were quickly adjusting their clothes when I walked in. I have no proof, but I think they might be doing what they did in college, and things got very quiet in our bedroom too. I breathed a sigh of relief. At least I wasn't alone in this. I wasn't up against a gang of three, just two women who didn't care if they got sex from a man or a woman as long as they were in the lead. What ideas do you have, Pete? I'm really starting to doubt my marriage. I never thought I'd say this, but things have gone to hell so quickly. We fought again a couple nights ago, and she said she loved me, but her actions said otherwise. How are you and Jean? Jim, Jean is out of sorts too, but we're not in the same situation as you describe your relationship. I think she's feeling the strain of what she and Jane are trying to force on us. I gotta tell you, Jim, if you were for it, I wouldn't mind either. I've never hidden the fact that I think Jane is a very sexy lady, you know. If you were in favor of us exchanging wives, I would agree, but you are not, and that's where it ends, as far as I'm concerned. So the night I was dreading became a night where men and women barely spoke to each other, but at least I had Pete by my side. That night when we got home, Jane started again. So your little strike continues. You were so rude. You didn't talk to Jean at all evening. I was so ashamed of her and myself. Having such a rude husband. She was your girlfriend of over 20 years. Damn, you should be ashamed, and I'm just tired of it all. Well, at least, Jane, you get more sex than I do, was my parting shot as I retreated back to the guest room. Damn you, it growled in my back. On the Monday after the latest confrontation, I installed hidden cameras in our home in the master bedroom, kitchen, and living room on the main floor. They were activated by movement and sound. I didn't know if anything would be revealed, but my heart hardened toward Jane. I didn't understand how things went so bad so quickly. I decided that my marriage was coming to an end, although I did not understand how this was happening. 2 months ago, we were the same happy couple as always. I decided she needed some reality back. I went to a divorce lawyer. She was surprised that I was ready to end the marriage because of such a short period of stress, even asking if I was serious. I told her that I felt that my wife had at least already cheated on me emotionally and almost certainly cheated on me physically with another woman, adding that she had completely cut me out of her life as a sexual partner, trying to blackmail me into agreeing to her terms. So yeah, damn it, I'm seriously having a heart attack. I asked her if she was the right lawyer for me if she didn't believe in my wishes. Her answer wasn't as convincing as I would have liked, so I decided to change her too. I found a man who didn't have to prove anything. He drew up the divorce papers and asked me what I wanted to do. File them right away, discuss it with my wife again before filing, or just keep them ready. It had been 3 months since the start of this farce, 3 months without intimacy, and although my observations revealed nothing physical, the audio recordings showed regular conversations, recording both sides of the conversation, so I knew it was Jane and Jean. These conversations not only confirmed that they were fighting a war of attrition, but also that they were enjoying their female connections. My answer was to file a complaint against her at work for maximum embarrassment. He smiled and said that will happen. I will let you know when it is done. I advise you to turn off your phone to cause more inconvenience to her. We agreed that it would be served the following Monday, and I took the day off to make some changes to the house. I did even better. I blocked her number. To hell with her and her games and disrespect. I also installed 2 combination locks, one in the guest room, which was now mine. I would have taken the master bedroom, but there was too much of her stuff in the closets, so it was easier for me to move my stuff, and of course the space to do it was enough. The second lock was installed on the former dining room, the only isolated room on the ground floor. I arranged for a large TV to be mounted on the wall, put a table and chairs in the living room, brought my large leather chair into my new room, and hooked up a cable TV there. 2 could play this game. I was now determined to be a complete misanthrope towards my wife and her friend Jean too. I haven't told Pete what I'm doing yet, but I'll tell him tonight after the fun starts. A little after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I received confirmation from my lawyer that she had been notified. It was a petition for divorce due to irreconcilable differences. As soon as she was notified, I blocked her number on my phone. 20 minutes later, I got a call from work. It was my secretary asking if I could tell my wife to stop calling and tell her that I had indeed taken the day off and was not at work. 30 minutes later, my boss called and said, "Jim, what the hell is going on? Has your wife gone crazy? Jane keeps calling and insists on talking to you. I even spoke to her myself and told her that you took the day off. I'm really annoyed, so talk to her and tell her to stop calling or she's risking your job." Boss, this will probably just keep her calling all day. I just filed for divorce from her. Oh, that explains everything. Call her, Jim, I'm serious. So I had to contact her. I decided to send her an email. "I'm home. I took the day off to celebrate getting rid of you. Stop bothering people. If you want to talk to me, come home. But you are more prone to insulting me to your mistress lately than talk to me, so why bother? I'm done with you." An hour later, her arrival was signaled by screeching tires and slamming doors, followed by cries of "You bastard." I was safe in my private room. I was listening to music and turned up the volume when I heard her screams. She tried the door, then exploded with rage, knocking and screaming, expressing her displeasure while I enjoyed it all. To hell with it. It had been 3 months since I loved her unconditionally, but she was a real bitch, playing with my mind and heart. Some may think I'm exaggerating, but without respect, marriage is nothing. That's my opinion, and always has been. My respect for her has reached an all-time low. I let her let off some steam, then opened the door. She looked shocked, confused, not understanding how it had come to this. She didn't know what I knew. She thought her conversations with Jean were not known to me. She also didn't know that I knew about their sexual relationship. I not only suspected that she had sex with Jean, I knew it from her own lips. Let's see how this turns out. Divorce, 23 years of marriage, a few months of fighting, and we just give up. What the hell did I do to deserve this, Jim? Okay, Jane, I'll tell you, you and Jean aren't as smart as you think. Guess what I know? Well, I know, in your mind, I am her mistress, and I plan to open our marriage. Is that right? And on what basis? I have tapes of your conversations, Jane. I recorded your conversations. By the way, I'm sure you've noticed some changes in the house. I've done my best to keep our lives separate, and I want you to respect that I've only taken over 2 rooms that are mine alone. Do what you want in the rest of the house, but stay away from my rooms. When the divorce is finalized, we will sell the house and split the income 50/50. Just agree. Sign the documents, and I will do my best to make sure this goes smoothly. At the same time, you can sleep with Jean in your room, but not with Pete. If you do this, I will make your life hell. I promise this. Everyone you know and love will know how deceitful, cheating, and sneaky you really are. Don't test me. Jane was stunned. Damn, are you serious? I thought you were just playing with me to get revenge, but what? Do you really want a divorce? But Jim, I really love you. I don't want a divorce. I just wanted to get mine. Do not do that. I laughed in her face. Do you really love me? Damn, I wonder how you would feel about me if you hated me. Remember your words about me. Wow, how cute. Sign the documents, we're done. No, Jim, we're not getting a divorce. It just got a little out of hand. I'm sorry, really. Let's work it out and move on with our lives. Okay, I see you need a little convincing. Read my Facebook page in 10 minutes. I returned to my room, turned on my laptop, and logged into Facebook. I changed my status to divorced and posted. My wife and her best friend Jean have rekindled their relationship, and so I am divorcing her. 10 minutes later, she started knocking on the door, which I locked again. Delete this, you bastard. How dare you tell everyone our private affairs? Jim, you have to stop, please. Sign the damn papers, and I will delete this. Otherwise, it will remain. Jim, I can't believe it. Do you really want a divorce? I thought you loved me. You really don't understand what you've done, Jane. I loved you all these years, and then you did this. You didn't care that you hurt me and ruined our marriage so long as you could sleep with other people. You're so caught up in this nonsense that you don't realize that you've betrayed me both emotionally and physically, and conspired with our old friends to destroy our marriage. By the way, how involved was Pete? Pete was all for it until you said no, then he said no. Well, at least she said something that rang true. Fine. Then Pete and I are fine, but I never want to see Jean again, and after the divorce I never want to see you again either. Now sign the damn papers. I can't believe what happened to the woman I loved. You look like her, but you're not her. We exchanged remarks and arguments. She tried to downplay everything, tried to convince me that our marriage was worth saving, but she became a woman who I could no longer trust to be on my side, to put my interests before her friends. When trust disappears, it's over. Jane was in a state of denial, complete and utter denial. She couldn't accept that her stupid games had led to the divorce, but I quickly came to despise her, especially after hearing her demeaning words about me to Jean. I continued with the divorce. She tried to talk some sense into me, but it was too little, too late. It had been so long since we had sex that I couldn't remember. As the divorce date approached, her lawyer tried to get mandatory counseling, but my lawyer said I wouldn't attend it and I wouldn't pay for it. I'd take my chances with a judge. Her lawyer came back with an offer that she would pay for it herself, but I again refused through my lawyer. I upped the ante again by putting our house up for sale. She was furious, but I told her it was only delaying the inevitable since the divorce court would still order the house sold because she couldn't buy me out. Reluctantly, she signed the sales contract and a "for sale" sign appeared in front of the house. She also finally understood that the divorce would happen regardless of her wishes, but said that since she wanted the court to order counseling, we would have to fight the divorce in court. I told her that it was fine with me. I would air all our dirty details in public if she contested the divorce, and that it was her money to spend on legal fees. Jane began to look like a very worried woman. She was losing weight that she didn't need at all. She looked gaunt. There were wrinkles where there weren't any before. She almost looked defeated. Such a change from the bitch who thought she'd get her way if she kept being mean. I really stopped loving her and started looking at her and wondering why I admired my wife so much when now, looking at her, she didn't stand out in any way. Apparently, this is what happens when love disappears. The years had not been so kind to her. That "for sale" sign led to a call from Pete, who suggested we meet for a beer and talk. I had arranged to meet Pete at the Rose and Crown, a bar we had frequented with our wives in better times. It served good food and burgers, and beer seemed like just the thing right now. As we placed our order and settled into a cozy booth, Pete began. "So, Jim, are you really divorcing her?" When I heard that, I laughed because I thought you were just hitting back at her. But now both Jin and I are sorry. We are losing our best friends, at least as a couple, and we both feel like we were a big part of it. To be honest, I didn't contact you because I was afraid that you would reject me. Jin is scared shitless to meet you. I'll be honest, Jim, it was something I said that started this whole process, but then the girls took it and ran with it. They both really wanted it to happen. And as I told you, when we started talking about it, I was for it until you made it clear that you were completely against it. But it was still my stupid comment that started it all, and I'm so sorry, my friend. What did you say, Pete? Girls complained that after 20 years we all knew what everyone else was thinking, and we didn't have much in life. We were all happy and content in our marriages, but perhaps a little tired in the bedroom. You went to the store to buy wine when this happened. Anyway, the genius here is saying, maybe we should switch wives sometimes to spice things up. I was half joking, half serious, not knowing what you would think about it. Then they dumped it on you, and gradually everything went to hell. Sorry, buddy, stupid move. I didn't mean anything bad at the time, just that weird shit you say under the influence of alcohol sometimes. Pete, I need to tell you something. Did you know they were sleeping together? Yes, Jim, but it was a long time ago when... No, this has been going on since Jane and I started arguing. I have surveillance set up. I have recordings on my laptop of both sides of the conversation, so there is no confusion of only hearing one side of the conversation. I heard them talking and planning. They admitted that they liked sleeping with each other. This and the lies she told are the two main reasons why I am divorcing her, lies and clear disrespect. I do not accept this. This is not how a marriage should be. It's been over 6 months since we had sex, and once the divorce is finalized, I'm going to enjoy my life. Already one of her work colleagues has asked me for sex on the side. I told her that as soon as I'm divorced, I'm for it, but I'll keep my vows even if she's not. Did she break her vows? Who is she sleeping with? With your wife, Pete, with your damn wife. Oh, I thought you meant she was sleeping with another guy, Jim. She's sleeping with your wife. How do you feel about this? Sorry, Jim, but remember how we talked about how people would pay to see this? I'd love to watch it, but I know you're not in the mood for this conversation. I think, to be honest, I don't really feel like a threat. But I don't like them doing it behind my back, just like you don't. I'm going to have a serious talk with Jean, but again, full disclosure to you, Jean will probably invite me to see them, and that would be my dream. Sorry if this offends you. No, in other circumstances, I wouldn't have minded either. In fact, part of me thinks maybe I'm going overboard. Tell them that, and I'll kill you. By the way, but the way Jane pulled away from me and disrespected me, and her cheating, although with Jean, well, I don't care anymore. I want her out of my life. If you told me this 6 months ago, I would have said it wasn't real, but now it's real. Damn, I just really can't accept this, mate. Will we still be friends, Jim? You and me, yes, Pete, if you can accept friendship one-on-one. Honestly, I never want to see either of our wives again after the divorce. Jim, you are my best friend. I will stick to this on whatever terms you are comfortable with. If Jean doesn't like it, I will have problems with her. I love her, but I won't let her decide who my friends are. Let's have another beer, and then I'll go home to talk to my cheating wife. You're right, Jim. What they're doing is treason. Do you want me to call you tomorrow and tell you how it went? Could be interesting, buddy. Could be very interesting. When Pete returned home, both women were there. Both knew he had met with Jim. Both hoped that what he said might change something. Well, Pete, they said in unison. So, ladies, want to tell me about your cheating behind my back? The two blushing women spoke simultaneously again. Oh, you two stupid bitches, Jane, your marriage is over. You should accept it. Jean, we need to talk. Have you heard this expression? It never ends well, does it? Have you both lost your damn minds? My friend Jim doesn't want to be in the same room with any of you anymore, and now I don't blame him. You both ruined a great friendship between us all, and I'm warning you both. Don't try to get between Jim and me, or there will be big problems. I will not lose my best friend because of your conspiracy and intrigue. So, tell me, what the hell are you doing behind my back? Jean replied, Pete, we thought you'd like it. What, Jin, you think I'm a fool? I'll like what's going on behind my back. Are you stupid? I'm very angry. I can't believe you're doing this when Jane's marriage is falling apart. Are you fucking kidding me? What do you expect Jim and I to take away from this? That we are not enough for you, right? Jean, we need a divorce. Don't answer now. I want you to think about it, and think about it very carefully. I also have to make a decision. Maybe Jim is right. Maybe our marriage is over too. Jean looked very upset. Jane just looked depressed. Maybe I should go away and let you talk about what you want. One broken marriage or two. Damn, Jean, we thought we were so smart. Thought we both had control of the situation. Now I'm getting a divorce, and your husband is mad at us too. Later, Jean slid into bed with Pete and said, Pete, you can't be serious. Our marriage is in danger, right? Jean, I understand why Jim feels so betrayed. I just don't understand how you both play with fire and don't seem to care. Jean, I love you, but you need to get your head out of your ass. What you and Jane are doing is not what married women should do. And it's not about you having sex together. It's about how you treat your husbands with disrespect. Doesn't what's happening to our best friends make you think you're playing with fire? Do you just not care? I'm really wondering where we go from here. Everything that was an anchor in my life seems to be drifting. I'm so sorry, Pete. We were just caught up. We thought everything was going the way we all wanted it, except Jim. We thought our plan would get him to agree. Don't let it hurt us, darling. Jane and I are just playing. You know we did this years ago. It's not serious. I thought you might like it, but you're right. You needed to know it was happening for you to like it. I'm so sorry. What do you want me to do? Stop talking to Jane, or do you want to watch or participate? You know, she wanted you to. That's how it all started. You can sleep with her if you want. I'll be okay with that, I guess. What do you think? Jean still looked very worried, but tried to convince Pete. Jean, just imagine that I sleep with Jane, and then you or she decides it would be fun to throw it in Jim's face to further humiliate the guy. How long will my best friend remain my best friend? Jean, remember, I will never sleep with Jane. I seriously never. If you insist on it or let her do it, I think we'll end up in the same trouble as them. Understood. Yes, Pete, I understand. Can I continue to communicate with her? Are you talking about sexual relations, Jean? Yes, I think so. Then hell no, all this shit ends. If you want to stay married to me, it can't be that I'm ignoring her and you're with us. Obama, get me, you need to think very carefully because our marriage is hanging by a thread right now. Jim had his day in court, and it turned out to be easier than expected. After Jim's lawyer outlined the breakdown of the marriage and the reasons for it, Jane's lawyer asked for consultations. The judge, who turned out to be a convinced Christian, quietly horrified by the story, sometimes frowning as he listened and seeming to groan at the conclusion, asked Jim directly what he thought the consultation would achieve. Nothing, Your Honor. I only feel disgusted with my ex-wife. She humiliated me with words with the mistress she cheated on me with, while she excluded me sexually for 6 months, trying to blackmail me into agreeing to her terms, and she lied repeatedly. I conclude that she has no respect for me. Your Honor, to me, marriage is based on love, but rooted in mutual respect, caring for the wishes of the other person, and always agreeing on important issues, never imposing them. We don't have any of that in our marriage, and I don't see that changing. Your Honor, I believe that consultations would be a waste of time. Mrs. Plenger, I'm sorry, but I don't need your testimony. I've rarely heard a more eloquent statement of what a good marriage should be based on. I made a decision. I will not schedule counseling, and the divorce will be granted. Mrs. Plenger, I suggest you consider counseling for yourself. It can help you understand why things are the way they are today. Outside the court, Pete waited for Jim to come out. Jane walked past him. He nodded to her, but without warmth. More than 20 years of friendship blown up, never to be restored. Jean was also a little distant. She didn't break things off with Jane emotionally, but she stopped contact physically because she wanted to save her long marriage rather than follow her best friend into the courtroom for divorce. Jane was now a single woman living in a small but reasonable apartment. There was little money, although the small alimony ordered by the court allowed her to live well, but not luxuriously. The house was sold at a good price, and 50% of the sale after commission and legal fees for the divorce was a significant amount for her savings for a rainy day. She'll be fine financially, but emotionally, not so much. She lost Jim. Jean ended her physical relationship. Pete showed no interest in her. With all the events that had happened over the past 6 or 8 months, she suddenly looked older, and, although she thought that living alone, she would get a lot of attention, no one worthy of her was interested. Only older married men were looking for light sexual intercourse, and of course none of them were suitable for marriage. Her relationship with her children was also tense. She tried to make it look like they were just growing apart, but Jim insisted that she tell them the truth, otherwise he would send them the tapes that had so greatly affected their marriage. The children were unhappy and both sided with Jim. Friends other than Pete and Jean were wary of her. No one trusted a cheater around their husbands, and their husbands didn't want to be deceived by such a woman. Life was getting very lonely. Counseling at least helped her understand her situation better, but it did not alleviate her loneliness. Jim, well, he was coping much better. He had already been on dates and slept with 2 of Jane's work colleagues. Both were happy with it. No one was looking for a serious relationship at the moment. He wasn't in a rush to commit to anything permanent, but as he told Pete, he was going to enjoy his life after the divorce. Unlike Jane, he relieved tension through physical exercise. Gym Hall and looked better than ever in recent years. This did not go unnoticed by Jane when she saw him in court. There was a strong feeling of regret about the choice made. Jim was able to afford a better apartment than Jane, and he was settling into his new life well. Sometimes he felt sad about the situation. He liked being married, but the decision was right, and he didn't rule out the possibility of trying again if he met a woman he could trust. Jim and Pete met at least twice a week, as they did after the divorce. They met at the court and went to the Rose and Crown to celebrate Jim's freedom. Jim once canceled a date with Pete at the last minute last week when he had a very hot date with a woman who someone his age would consider out of his league. Such thoughts no longer came to Jim in his head. He realized that the man was in good physical shape, decent-looking, and financially secure in his late 40s, all more attractive to many women. He was not sad and did not regret the breakup. When Jim asked Pete about his marriage, Pete would smile, touch his nose as if he was about to tell a state secret, and say, "We're fine. Jean is on a short leash, and she knows it. She sees Jane's example and doesn't want to end up in the same situation." Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think, click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to